guys, it's Monica with Miroh again. We're gonna check out the refrigerator. It's Tuesday, so we're fully stocked in our store. We have the classic staples here. We have some protein pancakes, a sweet breakfast bowl, a savory scramble bowl, which is kind of like a mimic of like scrambled eggs, but vegan. We have pad thai, which is a huge hit here. And then this cooler actually changes every 2 weeks. So we have all new dishes every 2 weeks. So we have a summer mac and cheese, a curry cauliflower, some salads, bang bang tofu, we have some quesadillas, all the goods. We also have some juices over here and some family size items. So Tuesdays we're fully stocked and we love having our clients in.
How many did you put together yesterday?
So yesterday we put together 3,210 meals.
Wow.
And we also had a huge catering job this morning, so we did that, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where are they at, those meals?
They went out this morning.
All of them?
All of them, except for the ones that you see in the refrigerator. We have a little bit of back stock in the back, but all those meals went out this morning, so we did about 210 households this morning. Hey, my name is Monica Notaro. I am the owner of Miroh Meals and Goods. It's a plant-based meal prep company. We do about 4,000 meals a week. I have been plant-forward and plant-based vegan for about 10 years, so in 2012. I felt as though while I was eating vegan and primarily plant-based, that it was beneficial mentally for me, and then it kind of turned into this whole journey, and I wanted to expand my vegan journey, and when I opened up my company. Projecting veganism to Metro Detroit was really for mental clarity. I was getting better sleep, better rest. I had graduated from college. I was in a stressful industry. It wasn't that I had just clicked one day and I said, hey, I want to be vegan. It just slowly turned into that, and I slowly chose vegan, and it just kind of became a daily ritual for me. You know, I was kind of randomly eating chicken. I was eating fish once in a while. I just slowly started to cycle those out of my diet and not choose those foods. So if I was going out to eat or doing something with friends, I'd be like, hey, you know, I'll bring like a big pasta salad. Like, I was slowly integrating veganism, and I didn't even kind of know I was doing it. I just started choosing more plant-forward foods. And then eventually I kind of realized, I was like, hey, I'm like fully vegan. You know, I felt better eating vegan. I slept better. I felt less inflamed. I felt mentally clearer. So for me, that was kind of
How you progress?
Yeah.
Because some people have difficulties transitioning, and I wonder if it's just because they didn't acclimate to these other foods. Were you already eating a lot of beans and greens and grains while you're eating animal products, and it was just a matter of just systematically removing those over time?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was definitely focused on eating lots of lentils and beans and
before you even gave up eating?
Yes, totally. So for me, I had already kind of had a half and half vegan diet, and I was just randomly eating, you know, animal products. Mm-hmm. So it was easy for me to transition, but I don't think I even realized that I was transitioning into that until one day I was like, I just was like, I'm good. I don't want, you know, milk products or animal products or that kind of thing. So for me, it was slowly, but I did have a coming to moment when I had the worst night's sleep in my life, and I'm like, gosh, I just don't want to eat animal products anymore. I realized, like, when I was eating vegan forward and plant-based forward, I felt better. I'm a super emotional person, so I can kind of trigger my emotions based on like what I'm eating. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, I slowly integrated it.
What does that mean, vegan forward?
I own a company where I see tons of different types of people. People that are not vegan at all, who want to choose vegan food more regularly, but they're still, you know, making chicken and doing those kind of things for their family, and they're just kind of eating it as they go just because it's there. So vegan forward for me is not being super strict with it and not restricting yourself completely if you can't do that. I think it's really important to have balance. For me, animal products are not something that I integrate into my life, and that's just who I am. But I'm not super judgmental or, you know, casting this, you know, preaching on people when they're not eating vegan food. I just think it's important, especially with the company that I own, to be inclusive to everybody. So I like to say vegan forward because 50% of my clients are not vegan.
And they're moving in that direction, hence the forward.
Yes, exactly. So they're slowly, from like kind of how my journey was, integrating that food more regularly, and then eventually it starts to click to you. Like, I feel better, I'm more active, I'm waking up feeling more energized, and that's kind of what I saw. And I tell my clients that who come in and they're like, well, you know, my kids, you know, I'm making them, you know, food maybe that's not vegan, and they're like, but they're choosing more vegan types of food. I didn't want to have my store be intimidating to people. I wanted to say, hey, we have vegan food here. And a lot of people don't even believe it's vegan because that's kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted it to encompass all types of cuisine and not just be raw vegan and raw foods. I wanted people to be like, hey, I can get a hearty, wholesome meal that's plant forward, that's all of our sauces are made in-house and dressings and that kind of thing. So I didn't want to discriminate against people that weren't vegan.
You do that by not using the word vegan, right?
Yeah. Yes. So all of my stuff is plant-based.
Yeah.
That's what I like to use. And I think for me, I didn't even think about it when I started my company. I wasn't like, oh, I'm not going to say vegan. I just said plant-based. It sounds to me like more inclusive.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't necessarily always mean being vegan. So people will use the word plant-based. I see a lot of companies use it who they still have dairy products in their meals. And they're like, well, most of it's plant-based. My food is completely vegan, but I like to say plant-based because I don't like to scare off people. I want people to feel comfortable eating vegan food and not saying like, well, that's vegan. I don't eat vegan. Well, you don't have to be vegan to eat vegan. You can still, incorporate that into your diet. And slowly I do see a trend of people that choose more plant-based and vegan foods slowly stop eating meat and stop eating dairy products and meat products.
I have a friend who owns a restaurant in North Carolina. I'm trying to get him to go vegan with his restaurant. Over the years, just slowly. I know it's something he's not going to do overnight at all. So I told him one day, I said, I feel like you're missing the biggest market because everyone can eat this food.
Yeah.
Not everyone can eat what you're serving right now. Is your business doing pretty good? Do you feel like you've got an edge, or do you feel like it's kind of maybe holding you back a little bit at all?
And it's actually funny that you bring that up. I have had a lot of feedback. I've had my company for almost 4 years. This location is new, but I've had my delivery service for 4 years and we've been extremely successful. Even during COVID, I probably doubled my production during COVID just because we were delivery only at the time. But it's funny that you say that because I do have some people who are like, well, what if you did some vegetarian options? What if you did organic chicken? I have people from the other spectrum actually saying like, hey, we think you'd do better. And I love when people say this to me. They're like, we think you'd do better if you had some options for meat or some options for dairy products. We've been so successful with this. I don't feel that's necessary. I'm vegan. 50% of my clients are strict vegan. I don't see the need to bring in meat. If you're gaining the nutrients and gaining the health, eating whole foods and, vibrant vegetables and fruits, and we really try to shop locally for our produce and that kind of thing, I don't see the benefit of bringing that on. To gain some other clients? But to me, it's not necessary. We're doing great without that. So no, I don't think I'm missing out on some sort of market. I like where we are and kind of where I stand in that situation. It would, if I were to bring those types of options on, it would totally change the whole reasoning for my company.
Now, are you a chef?
Apparently now I am. No, not trained. I've been surrounded by food my whole life. My dad's an amazing cook. I'm intrigued by food. So I have amazing sous chefs that work for me, but I'm intrigued by food. I'm intrigued of how you can kind of create a dish. My biggest challenge, I challenge myself all the time. I'll give myself like a few ingredients and I'm like, what can I do with this? And I love having the challenge of creating recipes. All of my recipes I've created myself. I work with my sous chefs to come up with a really good menu. Our menu changes every 2 weeks, so it's constantly cycling. I'm constantly gaining new ideas, and I challenge myself on a weekly basis. I'll take a menu item, and I'm like, how can I make this vegan? Completely vegan. How can I take a steak and make it vegan? I want to do cauliflower steaks. It's really cool to see what you can do, and you're still having the same nutritional properties and gaining these nutrients from non-animal meals.
I wonder if some people are afraid to go in this direction, some restaurateurs or cooks or chefs, if they're afraid to go in this direction, maybe it limits them. It'd be nice to hear how creative you can get cooking this way. So give us an example of some of your more creative or unique, fun, or successful foods.
I have a ton of clients who will come in and they're like, oh, we love like tuna wraps. I'm like, I can make you a vegan tuna wrap and it'll taste better than a regular tuna wrap. I can promise you that. So one of our chickpea tuna lettuce wraps is a huge hit. People beg me to bring it back. We have a summer mac and cheese right now that was only supposed to be on the menu for 2 weeks. We've had it on the menu for 3 months. People love it. So it's a carrot-based cheese sauce that we make, nut-free. We have potato sausage that we make. We have a lot of athletes in Metro Detroit that order from us, and they will still text me or send me messages like, this is not vegan. Like, what? Or they'll be like, what kind of meat do you use in this? I'm like, you guys, for the last time, like, this is all vegan. So I love to challenge myself to make these recipes. Our summer mac and cheese is huge right now. It has a plant-based sausage that we make. We do this BLT with eggplant instead of bacon, and it's so good. We have a pad thai that's been on the menu for 3 years. It's probably our top seller. We sell out of it every single Tuesday. It's become like this little cult of people in Metro Detroit. I think it's really become something cool.
Now, what were some of the changes that you experienced as you progressed toward eating plants exclusively, physiologically, mentally? Like, describe some more of those changes that you experienced.
A lot of it was internal, and I didn't even realize that it was happening. So for me, the first things I kind of experienced was I noticed that as I was eating plant-based, let's say a whole day, I kind of like would look back on my day. I'm like, oh, what did I eat today? You know, okay, so I really had like, I was basically vegan all day. That was like kind of my first thing was I experienced was my sleep. On days where I was eating heavily processed foods, I'd be going out, or even like if I was having a drink or something like that, like my sleep was done for 2 days. So I noticed when I was eating clean, not drinking anything, not eating processed foods, I was really sticking to vegan or plant-forward food. My sleep was the first thing I noticed. I was getting great sleep. I was waking up. I'm like, I'm really energized today. Why? And I look back on my day before and I'm like, oh, you know, I had a lot of water. I was eating really clean. That was the first thing I noticed. I really noticed it. I have a 5-year-old daughter. My pregnancy was super easy. I was energized the whole time. I mean, I had some morning sickness, but versus some of my friends who were going through pregnancy at the same time and they were, you know, eating burgers and eating unhealthy food during their pregnancy, like I really, for some reason, stuck to really clean eating. And I felt great my whole pregnancy. And I'll tell people that was the first time internally I noticed that I could get through like a weird process in life. And I definitely attribute being vegan during that time, for sure.
So your daughter's vegan, or at least plant-based forward from conception?
Yeah, yeah, exactly, yes. I've kind of allowed her to kind of make her own path. And she really chooses, I don't even think she knows it. She doesn't eat meat at all, really.
Does she know what it is?
Yes, yeah. And her thing is more so, she'll talk about it with me and she's like, I just don't like that because, you know, it's an animal and that kind of thing. So she talks about it in an animal sense, the cuteness of animals. But I do try to have, you know, deeper conversations with her like, hey, you want to set yourself up to be healthy later in life, and it's important to fuel your body with, you know, natural whole food ingredients. And I do have really serious conversations with her on that. Just because, you know, unfortunately, when she goes into school, you know, kids are sharing snacks. I don't really know what she's eating, you know, if she goes to friends' houses or whatever. I mean, she's only 5, so she's not really doing those things too much. But, you know, I just think it's important to have a healthy relationship with food, with healthy food at a young age.
How did you know that it was safe to go through a pregnancy without eating animals, to raise a child without, you know, having that in the home? How do you know that?
You know, I have a background in science. My degree is in biochemistry. I worked in the chemical industry, and actually I was a pharmaceutical sales rep for a while. I have done my research, but it's really only what I have done. I mean, I don't fully know. I mean, I don't know if anybody really knows. The science is constantly changing, but we do have proof that food heals. There is, I mean, and there's medical back, and I'm not a doctor, so I can't, you know, fully give you that full information, but, you know, do your research and listen to yourself. You know, you can listen to people all day long and what their opinion is and what they see is backed by medical standards and that kind of thing. But I think it's important to do your own research and to go back and look at science-backed, you know, vegan and holistic doctors even, and really just like, and even look at MDs and people that aren't into veganism. Look at all the different types of research. You know, I worked heavily with my doctor, and they actually weren't too happy with me about being fully vegan during my pregnancy, but I only gained like 6 pounds. And I had an amazing pregnancy. And but I exercised the entire time. I wasn't crazy about it. Like I said, I enjoy balance of life. I just listened to my body. I didn't have any health issues. I had a super easy pregnancy. My daughter's extremely healthy. I'm healthy, I'm active. I just listen to myself, basically. And I tell my clients that too. I'm like, listen, if you're feeling groggy and inflamed after a certain food, you don't need to, you know, people get freaked out. They're like, oh, well, I need to go have all these tests run and this and that. Yeah, I think that's important to do in your life once or twice or however many times. But listen to yourself. If you're feeling run down and you had like a crappy day of eating, listen to your body. Your body will tell you what's happening. And I think for me, that was the first thing. Like I said, my sleep dramatically increased and got amazing after I realized I was fully eating vegan. And then things were happening from there. I was feeling healthier. I was feeling more energized. Yeah.
Do you have like family and friends that are vegan, or are you pretty much the only vegan you know? I mean, I know you have like 50% of your clients are vegan, but I mean like close. Like, is it difficult like when you go to family and friends?
My dad eats meat. My dad's Italian. He makes his own sausage and that kind of thing. And I do have a lot of friends that are vegan, and some of them have kind of come into veganism because of me, or we've had good conversations on that, and some have just found their own journey along the way. I don't think it's difficult, and I think I'm like this because I can really find vegan food anywhere, or I can kind of just make it up or make something into a vegan dish or whatever. But even like, going to a barbecue or something, like there's always something that I can find there. And I don't really have difficulty, but again, a lot of people do. And that's why I started this company. I wanted it to be available to everybody, vegans, non-vegans. Hopefully they feel better eating this food. Hopefully if they are, medically tested, blood work, that kind of thing, hopefully this is increasing. And I do have a lot of clients that go to Dr. Khan and some other people are in the area, and they see great results from it. So, but yeah, I don't have a problem really eating vegan. I think it is tough though.
Mm-hmm. And then your daughter, if she goes to a family or a friend's house, do you prepare her at all? Do you give her food to bring, or feed her before she goes, or just suggest things to her?
Yeah, I'll send stuff. My mom and my dad watch my daughter a lot. I'm a single mom, so I kind of have to just rely on them for a lot of things. Yeah, I definitely will send her with stuff, cut fruit, noodles with even some sauce that I make or something like that. But my parents are really good about it. And like I said, my main focus for her is creating healthy habits with eating. I don't necessarily want to be super strict with her. I definitely prefer her being vegan. I don't really call it that with her, but just she knows to choose healthy foods and plant-forward food and really fresh, and she loves salad and broccoli, and I think that's just because I've made it not a scary thing, so we season it, we do fun stuff to it, and she loves blanched broccoli, just plain. She'll eat it all day long. She loves it. So I've just tried to create healthy habits for her that aren't like, you have to eat vegan. I want her to be able to choose that and see that it's not a scary thing to do.
You want her to be motivated intrinsically on
Totally.
free will, yeah.
Yep.
Is there any tips you can give mothers or mothers-to-be on how to transition from maybe breastfeeding to, eating whole plant foods?
From my experience, I wasn't afraid to eat. That's like the main thing for me. So like after I had my daughter, I breastfed her for a year. I don't want people to look at being vegan as you're restricted in food. So just choosing, fresh, if you can go to a farmer's market, choose, get out, get some fresh air, go and grab, a bundle of kale, some other stuff, and don't be afraid to try recipes. Don't, if you're unsure of how to cook a certain vegan food, like it doesn't have to be complicated. And then even like transitioning your children, like same thing. If you're seeing, a packaged PB&J frozen at at Meijer and you want to grab that because it's easy, really just setting yourself up for success to cook vegan is the key. So having some sort of grocery list or, kind of finding some recipes that you want to make over the next week, just preparation is the biggest thing.
Did you slowly introduce like whole foods, chopped up, ground up, anything in particular? How did you transition your child?
That, for me, I did a ton of research on. Okay, so I breastfed her for a year. I was slowly introducing like avocados, sweet potatoes, soft foods, but I also didn't just want to stick to sweet foods. I would mix like some avocado with sweet potato and try and make it not just sweet fruit forward. I did like blended Brussels sprouts. My daughter loves Brussels sprouts now. I would do, really soft Brussels sprouts, mash those. And they have so many machines now that you can buy that will like steam your food in 2 seconds. And so I got a little crazy. I went and bought all that stuff. Yeah, I tried to do just like very simple foods for her. And there's a lot of companies, and I won't say names or any companies like that, but there's a lot of companies out there who deliver your food, and there are a few that are really amazing, and they are extremely simple ingredients. It is literally, you can have a sweet potato dish delivered, and the ingredient is sweet potato. Just look at the ingredients, and you can see what's in there. There's no gums in there. Look at the ingredients. If it's broccoli, kale, sweet potato, great. Love that. I chose to make my own food because at the time when I had my daughter, there wasn't a lot of companies out there. It's really not that hard to find processed food, really, that's still very simple. And even like some of the oat milks and stuff that are out there, and almond milk and coconut milk, like if you look at the ingredients, and sometimes it's shocking. It'll say on there organic, plant-based, this, that, but you go and take a look at the ingredients, that's really what I focused on. So broccoli, really leafy greens type stuff, and I just would steam it. Especially lentils for her were good because they still had some sort of texture to it.
Could you be with somebody who isn't vegan?
I was. I was. And I did my preaching once in a while, and I do have to say that he definitely sees the benefits of being vegan, and that was tough for me, but again, I'm not here to preach. I really focus on what makes you feel good, and go get some blood work done, and you can take a look at that yourself.
What about like dating forward?
Dating forward, yeah, exactly. Dating forward, yeah. I definitely would try to push like all the food that I would make, and I was cooking all the time for previous relationships, and everything was vegan, and they loved it, and they saw the benefits of it.
So
but
you could be with somebody who isn't then, right?
Oh, totally, yeah. I mean, it makes it tough, especially if you're a really, really firm advocate of being vegan and you don't see any other way. Obviously, I could see how that would be a little bit tough. I'm not a judgmental person, and I just think that to each their own. As long as you're reaching for 90% of the time plant-forward food, whole foods, legumes, beans, that kind of thing, I mean, you can really turn any food into something that you want to eat, even if you're not vegan.
Do you think we'll ever have a vegan world?
No.
What?
I would love to say yes, but I'm just being realistic. It is incredible over the last even 5 years.
But you still think no?
I do, because of some of the conversations I've had with people who are just so, it's funny. I have a client who is completely vegan, and she's incredible, very knowledgeable. She comes in here every week and stocks up, and she'll order stuff online too. And her husband is like anti-vegan. And I've never met him except for last week. He came into my store, and she brought him in with her. He was cranky. He didn't want to be in there. And I actually had a really great conversation with him, and he's like, I have to say, I tried some of your food. It was amazing. I really liked it. He goes, but I did throw some chicken on there. And I'm like, okay. I said, you know what? If you need to do that, that's fine right now. I said, but I'm going to get you to see. I don't think our world will be fully vegan, but I think it is completely changed over the last 10 years even, and I can't wait to see what the next 10 years brings. But I think we need to watch out for the processed foods that are coming out, because anything can be labeled vegan that has no animal products in it, right? Why I say plant forward is because there's lots of processed vegan food out there that is not good for you.
I think on a spectrum, like the perfect vegan ideal way to be would be eating whole plant foods exclusively, because there's no processing, there's no packaging, and these things are detrimental to the environment, they're invasive to other species. Really the vegan ideal would be whole food plants exclusively. I think eventually we'll get to a point where that's not vegan, that's processed.
It's so important to look at the ingredients, and so important to see what you're putting in your body. Like you said, the perfect vegan would be having a farm out in your backyard, picking your own fruits and vegetables, not having anything that touched, the plastic and foil and all this stuff. I don't think the world will be fully vegan. It would be amazing if everybody was open to it and somehow saw, how to compost and use recyclable materials and reusable materials, and eating all these whole foods and seeing how it affects your body. I mean, I think vegan encompasses a lot of things. So that's only why I don't think the world will be fully vegan. But I think
What
a
about
lot of
plant-based? Could the world be all fully plant-based?
it could be, yeah. I mean, it totally could be. There's a lot of companies out there that are seeing that, hey, this processed food isn't great. We're trying to cut out all this crap that we're putting in vegan food. Yeah, there's some exciting things happening. I really do think in the next 10 years it's going to be pretty incredible. I think more knowledge, the better on that.
Let's talk about your restaurant real quick. Tell us, the story behind the name.
It is named after my daughter. Her name is Miroh. So I was in the process of trademarking another name. Originally, my company was called Earth Meals previously. When I opened up my storefront like 4 months ago, I changed the name just so I can grow with it. I wanted to trademark the name, so it's named after my daughter, Miroh, Miro. I added an H on the end so I could trademark it. I wanted to create something bigger than just having this storefront. I want to put out products out there that you can read all the ingredients and you can have like a sauce that isn't sitting on a shelf for 6 months with all these additives in it, and I wanted to have fresh. For me to grow, that was important, so I trademarked the name, so Miroh, and it really is important because it's named after my daughter. I want to create something that's bigger than myself. So I was looking at it generationally. So this is the only location right now. We service all of Metro Detroit, so we go all the way to Ann Arbor, and if you're not from here, it's a pretty large radius. It's about 30 miles out of Detroit, so we go to downtown, we go to Macomb, Ann Arbor. Our radius is huge. So
have you had any success stories that you would like to share where maybe either you are a part of it or you experienced it or you just watched somebody else, maybe transform from doing this?
I have many clients who have been with me for almost 4 years and they've never missed a week of ordering. And I have one client, he brought in all of his blood work and he actually worked with Dr. Khan on this for a while, and it was really incredible to see the results.
You brought it here to the restaurant?
To show me. And he was one of my first clients ever. I have a lot of athletes that I work with who just have noticed, similarly to myself, hey, I'm sleeping better, my integrity out on the field is better. A lady who was going through cancer treatments, she became vegan during the process. She's now cancer-free, and I'm not fully attributing that to my food, but she's mentioned multiple times she got through it really easily, and she thinks, she was eating other vegan food, obviously at the time, whole foods. She would have a delivery of just like raw fruits and vegetables delivered and that kind of thing. So yeah, I have seen firsthand, and it's really incredible. I wasn't able to interact with my clients because my business for the last 3 years was delivery only. When I opened up the storefront, I had tons of clients coming in and they're like, hey, I'm so-and-so. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I know your name, but I don't know your face. It's so great to meet you. They're like, I've had people bring me to tears here, truly. Like, you have changed my life. You've made it so much easier. I have single moms. I have people who have full families. I have, people who travel 90% of the time who are never home, who come in every week, grab their meals for the plane or for trips. They bring them with them. It makes their life easier. So yeah, I have seen, not just on the vegan spectrum, but the convenience spectrum too. Just being able to choose whole foods and plant-based foods and not have to worry about cooking it. It just makes it so much easier for people to be successful being a vegan.
Your degree you have a master's in
Biochemistry.
Biochemistry. What you've learned, your education there, is there anything about that might help you understand how eating plants exclusively is so advantageous?
The body's very incredible. I focused a lot of my time on the more chemical side and inflammation, and I see a lot of effects on the body of how it can affect inflammation, which is huge. And you can, again, talking to a doctor is obviously more knowledgeable than I am, because my research at the time was more so on the environmental biochemical standpoint of stuff. But yeah, cellularly, it's pretty incredible how your cells change and how putting that type of food in your body really does. It can change the chemical makeup of your cells and how they react to things. And I specifically didn't do research on that, so from telling the public that kind of thing, I'm probably not the person. But it is really incredible. Your body is really, it's ever changing, and you can start being vegan and your body can change chemically. Doesn't matter what age you are. It's really incredible. And like I said, I did a lot of research on the inflammation side, like an anti-inflammatory type diet, that kind of thing. That intrigues me because I noticed as I was eating less inflammatory type foods and acidic-y type foods, I noticed a difference in my energy levels and how my gut and my gut biome reacted to that.
Have you ever heard of sialic acid?
Yes.
Like when you're talking about the cells, when you eat animals, certain animals especially, they literally become a part of your cell. You're becoming that animal that you're eating. That's kind of maybe the mechanism of action behind the inflammation, because your cells become this foreign object now.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they start to attack internally and they start to react to it, and that's where the inflammation standpoint comes in. It affects you in many, many ways. Really, if you do the research on that, it's really incredible what you can find and what you can hear about, especially with consuming meat.
You said that guy came, you found out he put chicken on. Did you say, hey, I can make you something that's similar to that? Or have you tried that with him yet?
I wanted to make him like this zucchini, like a seared zucchini. I put it in this dressing that we make, and it kind of mimics like an Italian chicken, and I do it with zucchini. I try to mimic this Italian marinade that we do, and I'll do zucchini and then I sear it on the grill. I first asked him, I said, well, why? Like, why did you feel like you wanted to put chicken? He goes, well, I needed meat in my dish. And that's a lot of, I hear a lot of that. Like, I needed that. And I'm like, well, why do you need that? What do you mean?
How do you know?
Or yeah, how do you know? Or like, what, do you crave it? Or does your body, you feel like you need meat? He's like, well, I just needed it. I'm like, I told him, I'm like, the next time your wife comes in and picks up some food, I'm gonna make you like this zucchini that I do. And it just kind of mimics the texture of, having something heartier on, a dish. Actually, he had grabbed a fried rice that we do, fried in quotes. We don't fry it. But that's what he put the chicken on it. And I'm like, I'm gonna make you this zucchini that you can put on next time. But yeah, I always like to ask why. I'm like, why do you feel like you need to have that? Well, I felt like I needed some meat or red meat. And I heard that from an old relationship I was in too. And I'm like, explain that to me, do you crave it? And it does, people do. It becomes a weird addictive thing to have to feel like you need meat in your life.
I used to have a really disgusting habit of smoking occasionally. And you feel like you need it. And it's a false truth that you create mentally. And once you get past the physiological withdrawal, everything else is just mental. And then so you just got to reprogram how you talk to yourself.
Totally.
And so it's like they might be saying they need it, but it's more just that they're used to it, and so they want it, and they don't know how else to get what they're accomplishing there.
Yeah. Oh, totally. It's a habit.
Yeah.
It's a habit, and I think it's a comfort thing too.
Yeah,
you have to be comfortable choosing whole foods and plant-based foods, or veggies and fruits and legumes and rice and hearty type stuff that's not meat. You have to be comfortable with it. And know that it can fuel you, if not better, than anything else that you're eating that's animal-based. Yeah. 100%. You have to be comfortable and confident, because not everybody that you are around or surrounded by is going to be choosing those types of foods. So you have to say, oh, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm going to grab this or do this or eat that, whatever, and just be confident in it. And it just becomes slightly a habit, just like choosing meat is a habit to a lot of people. They go out to a restaurant. I always get a burger when I go out to a restaurant, or I always choose the chicken piccata or whatever you want to pick. That's because they're used to that. It's a mindset thing. As much as it is a craving thing, it's also a mindset.
Yeah. Comfort food, like what does that even mean? So comfort food, it's you had this history of eating this, and so it's psychologically, again,
totally.
You're mentally comfortable, even though something completely different would satiate you equivocally or even be better for you.
Totally. Totally. Yeah, we do this coconut bacon here that we put on a Cobb salad.
Yeah.
And people beg me to make it as a side so that they can like take it and eat it for breakfast and do this. And it's a comfort thing. It's a cooking eggs and bacon in the morning. They grew up doing that, or they, whatever it may be. And that's why it's important to have companies that you can trust and rely on to have food that's readily available, so that you don't have to worry about doing those kind of things. Or even recipes that people are comfortable with, vegan recipes. Hey, I make this all the time, it's vegan, it's really easy for me to make, I feel comfortable with it. It's a comfort thing in a lot of aspects for people.
How can people find out more about you? I guess you have a website,
Yeah.
Instagram.
Instagram is probably I know I get yelled at. I need to like be on Facebook and TikTok or something, I guess now. I'm like getting too old at this point. Instagram is the best way to find us. It's Miroh, Miroh meals on Instagram. And I put up lots of nutritional information. I work with a lot of vegan people in the area, Dr. Khan being one of them, lots of restaurant owners who own vegan restaurants. I do lots of like lives and talk about lots of information. I really just wanted to create a community where people felt comfortable, where you don't necessarily have to be vegan, but it's informing you on the benefits and informing you on how to get food easily, different types of farms in the area where you can go pick up stuff. There's some cool information that we talk about, and obviously I talk about my food a lot too, but my daughter will be on there sometimes. I'm on there a lot. So yeah, Instagram's the best way. We have a website, mirohmeals.com. Hopefully we'll be shipping soon.
Is there any last minute encouraging words you want to share or anything?
Just don't be afraid to try new things. Veganism has come a long way. I mean, even just in the last 10, 11 years, it's come a long way, and it's very important not only to our bodies, but to the environment. And don't be afraid to do your research. Like if you have an hour to do something one day, instead of going out and doing, wasting time doing some, sitting on Instagram or staring at the TV, try and maybe research some cool things about veganism. Look into recipes, maybe just try it. Spend an hour at the grocery store and really challenge yourself to grab whole foods, grab fruits, grab vegetables, try and find a co-op in the area, go grab some, fresh farmed produce, that kind of thing. Just the challenge is important, and that's my main advice. Just do some research and try and to benefit yourself, because life is short. Why not live as healthy as possible as you can?
You talk a lot about comfort. It's also probably good to get out of your comfort zone,
Totally.
right? I've done that by spending more time in the kitchen. I used to think just washing dishes would give me a heart attack.
Cleanup is the worst part of prep. That's why I exist, so that you don't have to do any cleanup. You literally just heat your meal and eat it, so there's no dishes. But I think, yes, getting out of your comfort zone. The last 6 years of my life have been kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I opened up this store. I left my job. I was in pharmaceutical sales. I had a child by myself. Getting out of your comfort zone, I had no idea what I was getting myself into when I opened this company. I knew I wanted to have readily available meals that not only vegan people would love, but other people. Opening up the store, I was like, I don't know if I can do this, but I'm just gonna do it. Anything that you're passionate about and put your mind to, so even becoming vegan or just choosing to be more plant forward, let's say 5 days out of the week, like challenge yourself, see if you can do it, and just then see how you feel. What's the worst thing that can happen? You don't feel as good? Okay, great, so then don't do it, I don't really know. Challenging yourself and taking a leap of faith on things is so important. If you don't challenge yourself and you don't put your mind towards certain things that you're passionate about, then there's literally no point in existing at this point. Like, it's like, why not see what you can do? Why not see, I opened this store, I'm like, it could fail, but it's been amazing. And I have this awesome community of people, and people that are way more knowledgeable than me who come in here and talk to me about things, and people who push me every day. We're putting in a coffee shop in here in the next week and doing completely organic coffee and locally sourced and coffee that doesn't have crap in it. And I don't know, it could fail. It could, I don't really know. But if I don't do it, I will be mad at myself at the end of the day. And that's how choosing vegan food and being plant-based for me is. I challenged myself slowly to do it, and it's just become a lifestyle, and I'm eternally grateful for doing that for myself. And my body will be grateful for it at the end of the day. If you know how to interact with food, and I always tell people this, obviously we talked about this, I'm not a professionally trained chef, but over the last 4 years, I have really mastered cooking vegan food recipes. I could come up with, our menu changes every 2 weeks, and we have about 40 items on the menu every single week. So I'm constantly finding new ways to interact with food, testing out different ways. And I tell my clients all the time, I'm like, listen, tell me what you love and what you don't love. I love hearing negative feedback. I really do, because it's the only way that it pushes me to grow. It's very rare, but I've had people like, hey, this could use more of this, that. I'm like, okay, that's great. Tell me all the feedback. But yeah, I think it's important to be able to cook food and have a healthy relationship with food and say, like, if you see something at the grocery store, bok choy, whatever you want to, I have no idea how to cook that. I don't know. Just take it home and try and cook with it. Sear it up, throw it in a soup. You cannot go wrong with cooking food. As long as you are like, hey, I'm just going to try it. There's so many resources. I mean, go online, go on Pinterest. There's literally endless resources on how to cook food.
One thing I like to do is I'll buy things that I know I like, whether I know how to cook them or not.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Or it might just be like, oh, I've got an onion and a carrot, and I've got, maybe some sort of beans or whatever over here, and this, that, and the other. Now, okay, well, I don't know what to do with this, so I'll put in Google those ingredients.
Totally.
And then look for some recipe, and then it's like, oh, I learned how to make something, and I'm using what I got, and I didn't have to go and get anything else.
Oh, I love that. I love just like seeing like a few things that I have in the fridge, and I always challenge I'm like, what can I do with that? I'm gonna make a little gazpacho with that, or I'm gonna make like a sauce, and that's honestly kind of how I started doing a lot of the sauces that I make too here. I was just like challenging myself. I'm like, what can I make out of this? So it's cool to know how to utilize food, and I think it's important. It kind of brings us back to our roots and brings us back to a simpler way of cooking. And the simplest way of cooking is the best way. Yes. Not adding in all the crap that you can buy anywhere else. Like, just be simple with it. And you'll realize your palate will change a little bit too when you're not putting tons of salt on something or this processed sauce in there or that. You'll notice that you become more comfortable with tasting food and not having it be so overprocessed.
Do you do other things too? Like, do you exercise regularly? And because I mean, you're so busy with this, I can't imagine you must have time for anything else.
I will say I am fairly active. I go through spurts, and I don't beat myself up over it. I have a lot of friends who are like, I haven't worked out in a month, and I'm like, whatever, life happens. I definitely go through spurts of being more active at times. I'll go through like a month where I work out every day, or at least I'm getting some sort of activity. Definitely active. I try to at least get outside, whether it's cold, hot, raining. I will literally try and like just walk at least once a day, even if it's running around with my daughter or something. But I don't beat myself up if I'm not working out heavily every day. But I am fairly active. I work out 3-4 times a week, whether it's walking, running, going to a gym, or I belong to a gym. I drink a ton of water. A ton. I'll put a little lemon in it. I use pretty clean products. I recently, probably like 4 years ago, I went through all of my products, and there's an app that I use called Think Dirty. You can scan it. It's very cool. It will break down all of the ingredients that it sees on the barcode and tell you how basically toxic it is. It's pretty legit too, like pretty reputable is my point. Like, there's some apps out there that potentially, I don't know, but it's called Think Dirty. I've scanned all my stuff in my house right after I had my daughter, and I cleaned out all of my makeup, all of my products, all the cleaning supplies I use. But yeah, I'm active. I have a 99% clean diet for the most part. I don't really drink alcohol. I'll have a glass of red wine, but liquor, I don't drink. Yeah, I mean, I saw negative effects of using things that just weren't beneficial for me.
How much of your health do you attribute to lifestyle behaviors outside of your diet versus your diet?
I would definitely say 70% of it is diet.
Like you could just quit exercising and you probably still look the same.
I've gone through, like when I was opening my store, I was working 20-hour days. I was exhausted. I was absolutely not working out. I did not have time for that. I mean, I was renovating it with my dad. I was literally sleeping 4 or 5 hours, maybe less a night, coming right back to the store and working. Like it was a pretty tough time for me. I was very tired. However, I was still eating very clean, and I was still feeling fine. So I would say diet is a lot of it, 70%. What you're putting inside your body, that is the most important, right? But yeah, add exercise to that, and a healthy lifestyle, and getting enough sleep, and mental clarity.
How much of your diet is raw?
This is a very general percentage because there's some weeks where I would say I'd eat 50% raw. I do lots of salads, lots of fresh fruit. I notice that pineapple bothers me. I feel very lethargic after. It's really weird. I just noticed. I think it's a acidic-y property to it potentially.
Frozen or fresh?
Fresh.
Okay.
I don't know. So anyways, but I eat tons of fresh fruit, tons of veggies. I would say anywhere from 30 to 40% every week. is raw.
Because you say you drink a lot of water.
Yes.
I notice people, the more raw they eat, the less water they drink.
Yeah.
And
That's probably true because they're getting probably a lot of water from their diet. They probably don't crave, their body doesn't even need it as much or crave it. I'm super sensitive to salt. I still go out to eat. I don't make all of my food. There's a Thai restaurant out by me that I like love, but it's very salty. I am swollen for like 5-6 days. I can barely bend and my hands are really important, obviously, because I'm cooking all the time. But I think that's because I eat so clean. Anything that is not a whole food affects me like crazily, like outrageous. So like I become way more swollen than most people would, just because I do eat very clean. But yeah, I drink a lot of water, but I like force myself to drink it.
Ah. When you say a lot, like half your body weight in fluid ounces, or?
I have like a 3-gallon jug. I don't drink all of it, but that's like, I just will carry it around just to remind myself. I actually look like a crazy person. I'll keep it at the store and I just fill cups up. So it's like a glass jug that I just fill up.
Okay. Well, you got to be careful because,
I don't drink it all.
Yeah,
Trust me, I would be in the bathroom literally all day long. I would say I probably drink a gallon of it every day. I just kind of keep it with me to I'll bring it around with me.
Yeah. Because I have heard, you could flush out a lot of, electrolytes, minerals, whatever.
Yes, totally.
Do you do any sprouting?
And
fermented foods?
So I don't do sprouts, and I don't do fermented foods. However, those are on my
next level.
Yes. Definitely the fermented food is something I'm actually working on currently. But sprouts, I actually use a local company called Planted, Detroit. They do packaged salads as well, but they have a huge hydro facility in Detroit, and their stuff is unbelievable. I use radish sprouts, broccoli sprouts, I get sun shoots, and they get delivered fresh every week. We use tons of them in our meals. I'm a big sprouts person. The fermented thing, that's actually on my list.
Why do you think some people quit?
Comfort and who they're surrounded by. I truly believe that. I don't think being vegan is too hard for people. I think it's just they get caught up in, they're going out all the time, going out to dinners, they're just surrounded by people that don't choose vegan foods. I think it's a lot of influence. It's not that it's hard, it's just anything that you're passionate about or anything that's good for you usually takes work. So I think it's a comfort thing and just what they're doing in their life at the time, who they're surrounded by, what's readily available in their refrigerator. I think it's, honestly, I want to say this, but I don't want to offend anybody. I think it's just kind of laziness. It has to be important to you. So.
Yeah, Dr. Furman says you have to be a leader.
You do, yeah.
Because otherwise you'll just start following what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, you do. And partly I love having this storefront. I think it's a safe place for people to come to, and we can talk about vegan stuff, and I can bring in cool entrepreneurs in the area. And yeah, it's definitely, you have to be a leader to be in this community, especially since, I don't know the statistic, but not everybody's vegan. You have to know what you're talking about too. You have to have the knowledge and the passion for it.
Did you have any failures along the way? Probably not, because of the way you progressed into it. You weren't just
I didn't cold turkey it. So for me, I definitely, probably in that first few years, I had some I was still integrating being fully vegan, but I wasn't even thinking about it. So for me, it was kind of a slow process. I just knew I felt better. You hear stories, people, there's failure with it. It's with anything, opening a business, raising a kid. There's
trying not to be a drug addict.
Totally, yeah, yes, 100%. There's failures in everything. So you just have to you cannot let the failures define you. Even having a business, there was one week, all my power went out, my walk-in refrigerator stopped working. I don't have a business without a refrigeration system. So, but I had a mental breakdown that week. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm done. My store was shut down that week. I had to really regroup myself and tell myself, I'm like, listen, things are gonna happen, whether it's your health, whether it's business, whether it's relationships, really trying to be vegan and you fall off the bandwagon, don't let it discourage you. Just say, whatever, I'll start this next minute. And also I hear a lot of people, they're like, well, I'm starting this diet tomorrow, I'm starting it next week. Just start it right this second. Whether you're trying to be vegan or trying to not drink alcohol or whatever it may be, or even you're trying to get 8 hours of sleep a night, just start right that second. Focus on it. Manifest it, put it out to the universe. Be confident in your decision. Tell yourself that you can do it. It's not that hard. Just keep going. And there's going to be failures, and that's life. Just in my own experience, it's definitely who you surround yourself with. For me, it was really surrounding myself with people who are focused on the same things. And I do have some friends who aren't focused on that, but I know that. And I try to tend to surround myself with people who are more focused on that. So whether it's I make friends at a yoga studio that I go to, or I make friends who have kids. You know, my priorities are different other than some friends who don't have kids or they're out all the time. I don't really relate to those. So failing less is really, just in my experience, surrounding yourself with people who have those same ideals and values as you. It doesn't have to be the same types of ideals or values. You know, they don't have to be focused on being vegan, but just focused on knowing what you are putting in your body. And just, I think that is important, because the influence is really kind of crazy. You don't have to fully understand how somebody's influencing you, but internally you can be influenced so easily. So I think it's just kind of focusing on, you know, if you're trying to start a business, surround yourself with business owners, because you'd be surprised how that will affect you. You know, going to local business chamber commerce meetings, even if you don't know one person, going there and just showing up and surrounding yourself with other like-minded people is very important. And also, like we said earlier, being confident in your decision. So yeah, if you don't know anybody who's vegan, just be confident in that. I mean, literally, you can go to Whole Foods and strike up a random conversation with somebody and be like, oh, hey, what are you making with that? Instantly, you can connect with somebody and learn a new recipe, or be like, hey, oh, this is really cool. Just interacting with people that are kind of like-minded in your situations.
Yeah, somebody once suggested, find somebody else who's successful at it and make friends with them.
And you don't even have to really like them that much. Just as long as you're communicating and talking about things that are really important to you, and going and surrounding yourself with somebody else who's opened up a business, I don't care what kind of business it is, just hearing them and having that same flux of life is important. So if you're trying to go vegan, find some vegan people. I mean, literally, you can type in like vegan on Instagram and like add some vegan person and just strike up a conversation on there. Like, people are very influential. Even if you don't realize it at the time, they will be in the future to you.
And vegans love to talk about it.
They love to talk about vegan. Oh, you're not vegan, or you're vegan? Let's talk. Okay, yeah, they love it.
Now,
that's good for you. So you have endless interviews.
Yeah. You said your dad's Italian.
Yes.
You should show him this video I did of it's called Plant-Based Mafia.
Love that already.
It's an Italian restaurant in Florida that's all vegan, yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, I'm looking this up as soon as we're done. That's awesome.
Maybe one day you guys can take a trip.
Okay, cool.
Or they could open up a chain over here or something.
Shoot, maybe I might franchise it over here. I don't know.
Yeah, and their food is so good.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
The potato sausage.
Yeah.
I'm curious real quick, what is that?
It's just like a sausage that we make. It's ground potatoes. We do some oats in there, carrots, and we put it into a casing and bake it, and we make sausage out of it. Yeah, so I try to, dabble with a lot of different things. Some things are successful, some things aren't, but I'm not afraid of trying new things, and I like to challenge myself in that sense.
I like the idea of calling it a sophisticated palate. How can we inspire other chefs or restaurants to consider this, or maybe help them understand that this is a more sophisticated way, even more creative way of doing things?
Well, there's two kind of aspects to that. On a financial side, for restaurants and businesses, it would be silly to not have some sort of options, totally. Because, like we said, the vegan community is growing at an astounding rate, especially with new studies that are coming out and environmental factors and that kind of thing. I think it would be silly on a financial aspect to not jump on that. Now, I'm not financially driven in that sense, so I think on the other side of it, I challenge the chefs in the restaurants to try to work with that kind of food. I think it's important. Okay, yeah, you're so used to cooking a certain way. Why not try a different way? Grow as a chef, grow as an entrepreneur, grow as a nutritionist, grow whatever it may be. I think it's important to work with different types of foods and allow people to also experience that. When I go to a restaurant and they don't have like some sort of plant-based or vegan options or menu, I actually I kind of judge them. Only because, why not? Why not have that? Why not? I mean, even if you're not vegan, sometimes people just don't want to have meat or have a animal-based product in their, so that's a challenge to restaurants. I think it would be silly to not have some sort of options, or even if it's like a dish that does have meat in it, not have an option like more significant than, let's just say, like a noodle dish or something, having like really cool turnips and cool and different types of foods that people don't normally cook with. Why not? They have the availability to get those items with producers and suppliers. Why not offer that to people? Why not, have that option? I have a few friends who have really crazy like allergies, food allergies to certain things. And anytime we go out, or we'll go out to eat or something, or I'll cook them food, or like, well, I can't have this. Now that's a different side of it. I appreciate restaurants who can accommodate people like that, but to not have some sort of like more of just a salad, like a significant plant-based dish, is silly to me. Why not?
Knowing what we know,
Yeah.
and then thinking about what a restaurant like that doesn't have these options, they're buying and supporting an industry that's just gravely tragic to the planet and the earthlings that are being exploited, on top of killing their customers.
People are resistant.
Yeah.
Again, the two spectrums, financially, they see it as, I don't think a lot of people that do that really care.
They don't
They
care.
just see it as, I have this restaurant, it's,
Just about money.
yeah. But on the other spectrum, why not offer plant-based options? Because you're literally limiting your community to that. And a lot of other information is available and people are resistant to it. So it will slowly, within the last 15 years, it's changed so much. I can't imagine another 10.
Well, when I was talking to my friend about it that I mentioned earlier, the restaurant owner, he said if people want to eat healthy, they eat at home.
Okay, I could see that. I could see why somebody would say that, is my point. I can see where he's coming from, because 90% of the time that I go out to eat, I really don't feel great after. I don't. Lots of salt, lots of oils. And I would say 90% of the time, I go out to eat and I don't feel great. I'm tired, I'm swollen the next day. Like I said, I'm really sensitive to salt. So yeah, they're going out to eat. Like, yeah, we're just gonna indulge, right? I don't care, we're out to eat. That's a lot of people's mindset. I'm out to eat, let's indulge.
Maybe they're not really thinking that way. It's just that everything's geared that way, so they just do it. I don't think they're like, hey, let's go eat unhealthy. I don't think anybody's really saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny you should mention the way you feel after you eat out, having eaten healthy so long. When I go to these conferences like the National Health Association or Vegan Summerfest or anywhere where I eat perfect for several days and live perfect, and then I go eat out afterwards, it's so overwhelming. The first bite, like just as soon as it touches my tongue, the contrast there is...
Oh, totally.
People just get used to that, and it's just very unfortunate, but...
They do, and then when they start to eat healthy and whole foods and not processed, it's not appetizing to them, and that's part of the problem.
Yes.
Is we're so overstimulated, our taste buds and even our minds, like we're just overstimulated. We're an overstimulated population right now. And it's good to get back to the basics and really just be clean, and then that food starts to taste way better and different and really vibrant.
And I think those hyper palatable foods are just playing on our innate instinct to survive, because we come from feast or famine. They exploit that, and then people they don't understand. Why else would I enjoy this,
Right.
Because everybody's so busy, they can't take the time to learn like you and I have, or at least they're not in tune with their body enough to progress like you have. So I'm glad we were able to have this conversation. Hopefully it'll be enlightening to others.